Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to round 2 of the EG Evolve RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship Season 27 at the beautiful circuit of Spa-Francorchamps, located out in Belgium and is home to the Spa 24, part of the GT calendar that everyone wants to be at and every manufacturer looks to go and take towards the top. It's also home to round 2 of our championship, and the drivers will have to battle around the 7-kilometer circuit to try and fight it out in an 18-minute race to see who can survive on the top. 2 mandatory pit stops with 2 different classes in each server. We're going to be keeping an eye on Pro and Pro-Am, especially after, well, quite an interesting race come round 1, where we got to see championship fights going and moving up through the order. We also got to see, well, a bit of arguments costing each other a podium right at the end that led to Henry Platt going and smiling at the end of his face. Let's take a look at what our GT3 championship looks like. It's Bego Krobler who will be leading out the pros, with Henry Platt in 2nd place. Mike LaRue in 3rd, with Jason Farmer in 4th. The 2 rivals find each other out on circuit and looking to see who's going to be able to get that little bit quicker. Herman Wickner holds on to the top 5. Ruan Heineke, Herman Percival, Sean Larera, Leclerc Basson, and Jean Mathias rounding out your top 10. Looking at your Pro-Am, Jaco Nadir will start out in 1st place, with Michael Schultz, Terry Duplessis, Martin Rotenbach, Conrad Martin, Leon Swan, Chris Biermeister, Finley Gamble, Jack Darts, and Gerard Pretorius will round out your top 10. Now, qualifying is underway for our drivers as they take their way to the circuit. Let's take a look down to the track to get an understanding of where everyone is filtering out. A quick look down, a quick look to the circuit. And now our competitors putting in a solid, good show. Everyone looking to really step it up here tonight and really put themselves on top of the leaderboard in both our classes. Now, that being said, drivers are going to have to think a little bit outside the box here to see who can move forward. Bego Krobler at the moment, top of the leaderboard, will be wanting this Lamborghini to stay at the sharp end to maximize his points and see where exactly he can fight it out towards the sharp end. So it's going to be an interesting one, and everyone going to be looking to keep an eye out on him after taking the victory. And we've got a little bit further down, Andrew Harris for the Midnight Racing SA team holds on 2nd place, with Gianluca Palmarosa going to be fighting out at this stage again in 3rd. Kieran Harris holding on to 4th, will be going for his solid drive, and we'll be hoping that he can bring it a little bit closer into the championship. There's always that little bit of who has got the upper edge on one another, as Jason Farmer, first to put a time on the board at 2:18.0, and for the pro class, finds himself at the sharp end of the field. Now, he's going to be looking to try and keep that momentum going without losing any time. Does not want to fall into the clutches of Mike LaRue, same as what happened in previous. Keegan Bone now finds himself going and dropping down the order. Jaco Nadir able to get a solid pace through. Michael Schultz for the Hydralis Racing team drops down into 5th place. Jean Mathias going and putting a stellar run in, holds on for 6th. We're starting to see those times coming in from the various teams, each looking to try and improve and each looking to stay at the sharp end of the field. Who is going to be at the sharp end? That's going to be the question coming through. New driver coming to the grid, Alex Everingham, who's going to be having a bit of fun. Extreme Sim Racing coming in with a brand spanking new driver to the category and hoping that he can keep in for a solid fight here. It's good to see another name to the grid, and always that wonder of who's going to be standing at the top. Big welcome to everyone out in the virtual grandstands. Wonderful to have you guys here. It's going to be a fantastic race day, and our drivers looking to have a huge amount of fun out on the track. Leon Swan coming in and having a bit of fun with the Xeon Racing team. He's up in 13th place. missed out on race 1, but looking to really keep it going. Christian Zetzman, after seeing what he can do, getting a bit of support from his brother and his dad, going and looking to charge his way to the sharp end of the field. Going to have to keep a very close eye on who will be able to stay at the top. Bagel Cobbler does put a fastest lap time at 2:17.7 on that last run, and he's joined with Jared Bergkum, who we would have seen last week was sitting in the virtual grandstands. This week, he's been kicked out of the virtual grandstands by his dad, Derek, saying, listen, time to get your butt into the seat and get going. Now the drivers are battling out there to see what they can do to really fight their way on. So track conditions at the moment, well, let's see if we can give you a little bit of an understanding where those track conditions are. So bear with me, a little bit of change. Nope, that's not going to change. We'll get you those track conditions just before we go to race, because there is a time swap, and I'll give you those temperatures that are out on track. So don't worry, Ludwig, I've got you all covered. And Jan Fears will be keeping a solid drive on his part, holding on to 6th position. Jakob India finds himself a little bit further down. Leads out the Pro-Am, but now finds himself in a very positive position of in that top 10. Hoping they can really keep a bit of momentum going. Chris Heineke looking to get a time on board for the Griffin Sim Racing team. William Naguri also looking to try and charge his way through. Jack Darts, keep an eye out on the driver. Does not want to give up the fight, and he's looking to really make it work. Donnie Steenkamp coming and making his return for the Griffin Sim Racing team. And a beautiful livery, might I add, coming from the Griffin Sim Racing team. Chris Biermeister also looking to put a solid time on board, 7th in the championship, and wanting to try and open up that little bit of momentum. So let's see what is going to happen. Lots of new teams coming into the play, lots of older teams now starting to get an idea of what's happening. Midnight Racing coming in and joining and having a bit of fun. Kieran Harris being one of those drivers, rounding out into the top 5 right now. So far, best lap time of the race is 2:17.7, set by Bago Krobler, a 2:18.2 set by Harris, and Herman Wettner also sitting in that 2:18. Our top 3 are the only drivers that currently sit in the 2:17s. Everyone else from our 5th place driver right down to our 19th place driver, Sean Herrera, holds on to a 2:18 time and will be looking to try and pick up the pieces of this qualifying. A 2:19 from Christian Zetzman all the way down into the likes of Anton Lummers of Nagiri Motorsports, and our 2:20s coming in from Funzale of Jean Funzale for the Racing Snails, and Chris Griff from the XTR team, hoping to also get himself a little bit higher into the mix. A couple of drivers, Jackie Alberts, William Nagiri, Rick Thomas, and Jack Darts, here to get a time on the board to make it work out in their favor, to see what they can do. 0.4 up coming in for Jared Bergkum as he comes across the line with 5 minutes to go. Does put himself right back onto the top of the log and beating out his teammate. That 2:17.5 is now one to keep an eye out for. Herman Wettner, 0.1 up on his lap time, trying to see what he can do, but it is going to be Graham Kelly for the Raven Motorsport team, now looking to try and charge across the line. Is this going to be enough? 0.3 up on his time as he comes across the line. He's able to move up into 8th place and in for a stellar one. Another positive climb coming up is Ruan Heineke, currently 0.5 up on his time, giving it everything he can to try and move forward. It's good to see Ruan Heineke giving him an extra little bit of pizzazz. He's had a little bit of unfortunate luck in sim racing this year, and now trying to pick up some of the positive moments that he's once had as well. So it's been up, it's been down, it's been all around, and now finds himself charging down for 23rd position. Hard onto the anchors, slings it in through the right into bus stop, slings it into the left, and guns it to the line. 0.5 up on his time. Is this going to be enough to move him into the top 15? And it moves him into 12th. A solid charge on his part. Quite a few drivers still looking to push their way through. Bego Krobler on a solid charge right now, is up 0.3 on his personal best. He is trying to go and usurp Jared Bakum. It all comes down to the final corners to try and get the lead of the race. Down the anchors and all the way through. Round the left-hander and on the power. Let the V10 scream as he comes booting it across the line. 0.4 and does a 2:17.3 as he comes across the line. Jason Farmer follows suit with a second place. Jared Bakum down into third, and Kieran Harris for the Midnight Racing coming in and stealing up that fourth place away from Herman Whitner, who now needs to try and find some time out on circuit. A 0.4 up for Chris Heineke at the moment as he's trying to dial in the pace, try and find that little bit of time. So far, he is one of only two that have been able to really go and find a little bit more momentum. William Aguirre now trying to find a little bit of time. Anton Lummers seems to have found a corner that worked out for him. He's 0.6 up on his personal best. And John Verveers as well, giving it that big final look to try and give it a hard push down to the wire. It's going to be a hard race for our competitors to beat that 2:17.3. Jason Farmer, a 2:17.46. Jared Bakum with a 2:17.5. And John Verveers sits with a 2:17 dead, a 2:17.7 dead, hoping that that is going to hold them up at the top. The qualifying times incredibly close, and you can see our top 15 within a second of one another now find themselves looking to try and just draw in that little bit of time, to find themselves that little bit of pace, and to ultimately stand at the top of the log. Who is going to be able to qualify well to take the momentum into the race? And Leclerc-Besson trying to do everything he can for the Alpha 1 esports team. Now trying to get a little bit of momentum, 0.5 up on his time. It's a solid run heading into Blanchemont. Charging out. Now it's a gun through to the bridge and aiming to go right into bus stop as quick as possible. Hard right, hard left, and takes the dive up towards the start finish line. Is it going to be enough to go for a top 15 here out of 27? He finds himself in 18th, but with a lap to go, he can still give it a hard push down to the wire. Bego Krobler finding more time, 0.7 up on his time, drops it to a 2:16.6 on that last lap, and Jason Farmer retaliates with a 2:17.2. Incredible pace for our drivers, giving it a hard push to go that little bit further and finding they have the time to just give it a hard run here at Spa-Francorchamps for the qualifying. This is round 2 of the championship, and everyone looking to try and take some momentum heading into the race. Our drivers now looking for that extra little bit to go and hammer on. Leclerc-Besson hoping to get a stellar run right now, 0.4 up on his time. Gerard Pretorius finds himself 0.6 up on his personal best as he's utilizing the toe to try and pull himself along. They're the only two drivers that are currently going and getting a little bit more time to try and see if they can make a big impact for the qualifying positions. But with 10 seconds to go, I think this is going to be it. Done, dusted, game over, and think about where you're going to go. Gerard Pretorius hard on the anchors, swings it through. This is looking to be up over a second and trying to get a little bit of momentum as he comes across the line from 26th, manages to rocket himself up into 11th. And will be more than happy with that. Leclerc-Besson hoping that he can pull himself up from 19th position on the grid. Now trying his utmost best to really see if he can put himself into that top 15. 0.5 up on his time. A little bit more to go through Blanchemont, heading into the bus stop. Late on the anchors, throws it to the right, throws it to the left, and will be flat onto the power, utilizing everything that turbocharged V6 can can do to boot it across the line and gets himself into 4th place. A great run on his part. Herman Whitner trying to find some time out there, fighting in those deltas. Graham Kelly doing exactly that. He is absolutely tearing into the sectors, hoping to find just something. Scratching, clawing, just trying to move his way forward, as we do see Chris Biermeister 0.5 up on his time. This is going to be his personal best. Oh, he just lost it through bus stop, and unfortunately that is him out of the running to go that little bit further. Jared McComb trying to go a little bit further, see if he can try and put himself onto the front row to join his teammate. He's gonna have to really dig deep here if he wants to get it done. He's gonna have to knock out 0.3 of a second to get close to Jason Farmer. At the moment, it's not looking good, but he's gonna try. Late braking in towards bus stop. He made up some time, but can he get on the power? This is gonna be a nail biter. Can he get across the line to get that 0.3? As he does boot it across the line, it was a better time, but not what he needed to go and capture 2nd place. And it's going to be Jason Farmer at the top. Sound drivers at the ready, and everyone looking forward to the race. It's a air temperature of 29 degrees, track temperature of 32, and with no wind expected. Partly cloudy for the next 30 minutes. It doesn't look like we're going to have any rain coming through, and our drivers are going to be quite happy on that one. Qualifying looking incredibly tight, but it is going to be the one, the only, and it will be Bego Frobler standing at the top end of the field. Now the question is, will he be able to carry that exact same momentum into the race? Well, that is what we're going to have to keep an eye out for, because that Lamborghini, he was concerned whether it's going to help him out in the race. He took the gamble of taking something new and now finds himself trying to pick up the pace. So let's go and dip down trackside and see the cars lining up as they up on those air jacks, getting themselves sorted out. And it's a monstrous field here we got tonight. We've got 2 servers going on. We've got our Gold and Am server that is happening on a server 2. We've got our Pro and Pro-Am, which we are witnessing here tonight, and will be following through as well. So it's wonderful to have so many different drivers, so many different skill levels coming into play to ultimately bring some of the best racing, some of the best ACC drivers, I would say, arguably in the world, up against one another to really fight it out towards the top. Some of the best teams lurking out in the world, and especially located here in South Africa, and going around, going and having an epic battle. We've got Team Wolf, we've got Midnight Racing, we've got Extreme Sim Racing, we've got Griffin Sim Racing. We have got so many teams locked in to really have a bit of fun, and also those returning, like the Alpha 1 Esports, coming back in with the Kluberson behind the wheel and looking to pilot that machine towards the sharp end of the field. Incredible drivers, incredible teams, and incredible strategies is what's needed for the next 18 minutes. It's going to be an hour and 20 minutes worth of racing. 2 mandatory pit stops that you're going to have to serve during the course of the race. Stop in the box, get yourself on the jacks, put at least 1 liter of fuel in the car, drop down and go against one of the longest pit lanes here in ACC. It's the endurance pits for Spa-Francorchamps, and that makes life a little bit more tricky for our competitors in what they need to do to make it work at the sharp end. Now, with that being said, Bego Frobler will be starting out in first place with Jason Farmer in second, and running into third place is Jared McComb along with Leclerc Basson in fourth. Jean Verveers holds on for fifth place, and Kieran Harris holds on to sixth. Herman Whitner holds on for a seventh position with Keegan Bowen in eighth. Chris Heineke in ninth. 10th place is Ruin Heineke, looking to try and chase down. Jack Dodds will be in 11th with Gerald Pretorius in 12th. Graham Kelly will be holding on for 13th and hoping that he's in for a stellar run. Rick Thomas a little bit further down, Yakunadia, and our new driver to the grid, Alex Everingham, to come in and have a solid race. John Fears looking to put the pedal to the metal as Chris Biermeister holds on for 18th. Ulrich Diaga in 19th position. Michael Schultz in your top 20. Gianluca Pomrosa, keep an eye out on this driver. He's had an incredible run in round 1, looking to do it all over again. Anton Lummers holds on for 22nd, and Alan Patterson in 23rd. Lucan Aids a little bit further down with William Geary in that 25th position. Conrad Martin, 26th. Hansi Myberg finds himself now in Pandacity colours. Hey, Tillis, you got it right. He's finally got Pandacity colours on his car, and is lying in 27th position. Dennis Berta giving him gears for not putting a livery on for Silverstone. Sean Lavera in 28th with Christian Zetzman in 29. Leon Swan chased down in the top 30. Out of top 30 is Andrew Harris, Jackie Alberts, Donnie Steenkamp, and we've got John Van Zale, and running out the back, Chris Griff, looking to try and take his way to the sharp end of the order. So a number of drivers looking for a phenomenal start, and well, with 35 cars on the grid, all vying for the same piece of tarmac, we are in for an absolute treat of note. And this is just what a way to have such a build-up and such a run for season 27 of the EG Evolved season 27 round 2 of the ACC GT3 Championship right here at RaceFace.Pro. We're looking forward to seeing what our drivers can do to get themselves to the sharp end of the field to really make it work, and who is going to have the pace, who is going to take away some of the points and look to be aiming as the champion for 2026's second last season of this championship, and quite possibly might be the very last 2 championships of ACC coming in for this year. That is yet to be decided, but it is on the card. So all these drivers know it's now or never to make it work for them. How they're going to end this off on a high. And I can tell you, I'm excited. Going and starting sim racing broadcasting out on ACC, and starting sim racing out on ACC, now finding that this is coming to this. Some of the best drivers giving it everything they can for the second last season of 2026 is going to be electric. And we keep an eye out on the front row, because the start finish line is not going to be before Les Coeur, where ours, well, this finish line is. The start line is when you aim down towards Eau Rouge, one of the most infamous corners in history. One corner that has taken lives. It has created so much trouble that it redid the entire safety around cars and procedures and how these cars are built and handled. Spa is not for the faint-hearted. Spa is a circuit where legends are made, and here tonight for the second round in the EG Evolved ACC GT3 Championship for season 27, all the lights get put on, all the lights are set as we gun down, ready to go, 70 kilometers an hour. Jared Burkham will be looking towards his teammate Bego Krobler, along with Jason Farmer, looking for a solid start here tonight. Is it going to be a wild one as we jump to our headicam and we green as we get underway, racing our way through? It's a gentle start, a little bit of argy-bargy from John Fifiers, and it's a little bit of a helping over, Herb Wepner falling off, and a big impact coming in for Keegan Bone, who finds himself racing down the order, but a rather clean run. Oh, as I say that, unfortunately, it looks like it's just a multitude of accident in the middle of the grid, and it is just carnage. 2 cars coming to blows, and unfortunately, it looks like a number of cars landed up in that severe impact. We'll try and grab that little bit of contact of what actually happened to each of the drivers, and let's quickly go to replay. And there was the 48 going and having a bit of a run as we jumped to our Eddie Cammy. Oh, it got clipped into the wall there, bounced back into the field, and it just had a huge cascading effect. Unfortunately for Fears, he finds himself in the pits and was party to that absolute carnage that happened at the start. For some, it was a matter of avoidance. For some, it was a matter of survival. For some, it's a whole lot of pit lane. And unfortunately, John Fears, Graham Kelly, and Jack Dart find themselves in the pits. Anton Lummers finds himself towing back to pits after a solid smack against the wall. He now will be trying to pick up the pieces of his race. So a couple of our top runners in the top 15 did not make it up the hill. It was a lean over, and unfortunately a bit of carnage that came suit as well. So we'll try and get another camera angle of that, and what exactly went on to cause it. So this is the other camera angle of John Fears coming through. He gets hooked up against one of our McLarens, and it just went all sideways from there. Many of our drivers, unfortunately, not finding any room to get on by, and as you can see, just behind the tree, it just continued to look disastrous on the way through. So not what a few drivers wanted to have on the start of it, but has gone and prompted a few drivers to dive into the pits, mainly the Griffin Sim Racing team, bringing most of their cars in. Alex Everingham coming and bringing his car into the pits to try and get himself sorted with that first pit stop. But our front runners, Bego Krubler, Jason Farmer, now find themselves up at the top with not too much pressure. Jared Bakuma, on the other hand, has got the Basson having a go, and also Kieran Harris, who survived the run, now finds himself right onto the back of the Ferrari, pushing as hard as he can to see if he can crawl back a position. Rick Thomas finding he's on the back of his own teammate of Chris Biermester with Chris Heineke miles up the road. Drivers are now trying to figure out what's the game plan here, who can move forward, and who is going to be able to get that solid run. Jackie Alberts and William McGarrett find themselves going back out and carrying on the race, as the rest find themselves in pit lane, needing a bit of work to their cars. The cars that did survive, all those that are battered and bruised, still trying to keep going. Herman Rittner being one of those drivers, with Gianluca, who also suffered a little bit of pain. Alan Patterson just ahead of them, trying to break away as well after surviving some of the argy-bargy start of the race up the hill. So not quite what we wanted to see, but it happens to the best of us, and unfortunately quite a few drivers now find themselves with a race changed in all sorts of ways and having to plan out what's the next strategy to move on forward. Herman Webner keeps the pressure on Gianluca, not able to get that pass done just as yet, just trying to apply the pressure, just trying to find that little bit of time, and ultimately seeing if he can bring himself a little bit closer, that little bit more into the race. But it's going to have to apply a little bit more pressure if he wants to get past the driver. It's not going to be an easy one. He looks down the inside, going for the send into the bus stop, but it's going to be Gianluca a little bit later on the brakes, does open up the door. Herman is able to get it stuck in, and it's Gianluca down a position, down into 13, as Leon Swan dives into pit lane to get himself sorted out and continue on with the race. A great start for some, a mischievous start for others. For some, well, it's a race to forget, as we got a number of cars still in pit lane, needing a vast amount of work, and especially after a towback that can take well over 3 minutes to get it done. Kieran Harris going around the outside, brakes late and overdoes it, and he gets a proper run through the chicane, and unfortunately not quite the run you want to have. That allows the Basson to take up that fourth place and continue on the drive. For Kieran Harris, he tried his luck, unfortunately, just sunk it in a little too deep, and that pass just didn't work out for him. Now needs to try and pick up the pieces of the race. A little too tight coming through Speaker Corner, and loses out yet another little bit of time as well. Every step of the way, you've got to try and find where you don't slip, where you don't fall, and you've got to try and just tick at the boxes. Who are you going to be able to get ahead of? How are you going to be able to move forward? And where are you going to make it done? As Leclerc trying everything he can to move forward. Keegan Bowen, as we saw early on in the race, was sent off into the abyss at the top of the hill. Now finds himself overtaking Christian Zetman and making up a bit of time in a Ford Mustang, charging his way through and hoping that he can make a bit of an impact as well. He's now just trying to break away as the rest of the field, now quite far apart from one another. Hasn't even been 10 minutes, but everyone's just taking it a little bit more of a cautious approach. Leclerc trying to see what he can do as they caught up to one of our back markers at the moment and trying to see what they can do. Chris Krief, mine's out of the way, doesn't want to get too involved in that battle and finds himself sent into the dirt. Krief, unfortunately, not having the easiest time out there, loses out to Chris Heineke, who's in 6th position, is able to get the run. And Chris Biermeister going to be looking at his teammates saying, come on, let me go. I need to go down the inside. He sends it on the way through, but couldn't quite get it done. So Chris Biermeister wanting to try and see what he can do to stay in for the run, as each of the teams now starting to work on that team game, seeing how they can shuffle their way forward and also continue on the race. For those that have completed their first pit stop and now finding themselves a lap down after the incident, they will be trying to claw back the points. Leclerc just managing to keep ahead of Harris, who outbrakes himself yet again, going at the top of the hill. Just can't find his brake mark and gets right into the back of that Ferrari. Gets dialed in, absolutely put into a tunnel, and unfortunately missing out the brake markers that are on the left-hand side. Key points that just goes and draws you in. That little bit of tunnel vision starts becoming a little bit more of a problem affair. Jaco Nadir, who we saw fighting out for the top of the the Pro-Am class, now finds himself right behind Hansi Myberg, sporting a new livery and managed to scratch the new livery. Tienes Puerta is going to be so disappointed on that one. But now Jaco Nadir will be trying to see if he can draw in a little bit closer, see what he can do to get into the fight as well, and ultimately see if he can bring himself back into play. A couple of retirements, unfortunately, during the course of the race after that major crash that happened at the start, and a couple of drivers needing to see what they can do to move forward. Well, another fight happening here. Herman Whitner and Alan Patterson fighting out for 9th and 10th position on a epic chase of note with one another. They managed to dispatch the likes of Jean Fonsale, who is now unfortunately a lap down, and keeping a very close eye on this battle. For Whitner, it's all about how close you can draw into Alan Patterson. For Alan, it's all about keeping the momentum at this stage of the game to go and fight out. Now, we did see Darren Miller racing LMU last night, not here at RaceFace.Pro, but is still out doing a drive. Alan going and pioneering the team in ACC as the lone wolf continues to try and keep out that little bit of momentum. Gianluca landing up in the dirt and unfortunately having a bit of an awful time through it. So let's see what happened to the BMW as he turns in and tighter, the understeer coming in, and just has that rear slip out. He was able to save it from the wall, but costing him a position to Ulrich Diaga, and not quite where he wanted it to be. And Chris Heineke finds himself into the wall. So Chris Heineke in a world of trouble, and now barreling down the order, and looks like needing to tow back to the pit. So what on earth happened to Heineke? Makes his way through into Eau Rouge, climbs up the hill. Can he keep it all together? The rear step down the Ferrari as it went over the curb, a hard impact into the wall, going and shattering the front suspension, and unfortunately causing him a force to pit, and unfortunately taking Chris Heineke out of the running. And after that, just a little clip on the right hand side, just a little bit too much curb, unfortunately costing him the race, and the driver finding that car hard into the wall. Done, dusted for tonight. They can get it sorted out. They can get their car back out on track, much like every car that started. The question is, can the driver get back on track? That is the main factor that comes in. you can always repair a car. It's one of the pros about Assetto Corsa Competizione. You're not truly out of the running. You're not truly out of the race. You're not truly done until the driver says so. And I do think we can get those teams that have landed up in a bit of an impact back onto the circuit to carry on the race. Herman Wepner trying to make his way through onto Alan Patterson, trying to close up that gap at a rate of knots, see what he can do to try and bring it back, as our top 9 are still yet to do their first pit stop of the race, and that should be a clean indication to tell you how big of a problem that first accident was and how many victims it claimed during the course of the race. And that is also our drivers now trying to find that little bit extra to see what they can do to maintain position. As once again, Whitman right onto the back of Alan Patterson, trying to see if he can get the drive. He's going to hunt down for the pass here. Patterson is looking to try and keep well away from it as we jump on board the rear wing, taking a look behind. It's a quick jump over the curbs. You've got to be careful as the whole steering lightens up underneath you. Alan holds the racing line, but Herman starting to close up at a rate of knots. He's finding that slipstream closer and closer and closer. Late on the brakes and immediately trying to see if he can get a little bit closer to go for a bit of a stab here, to see if he can try and get that pass done. Takes a very shallow line in through the right-hander, but was not able to get some ground. It's purely because of just bouncing over the curb. He's late on the brakes again, just trying to see if he can go and put Alan Patterson off his line. Keep applying that pressure. Keep trying to find an option whether he can get that pass done and dusted. But ultimately, it's going to be a manic run for him to get it done and all the way through, as Alan Patterson gets a little bit of a slide heading into Pouon. That rear not as stable as he would like. Now finding that he's got to have to keep it all together. Chris Griff is ahead of him. Teammate to Herman Wepner, the Extreme Sim Racing team, now finding that they can put the PWSR driver in a little bit of an awkward situation, because it doesn't mean that's going to be an easy pass, as once again Herman dived for the inside, trying to see if he could get that pass done and dusted. He attacked, he put the stab in, but couldn't quite make it work. Now has to think, what do I need to do to get the drive? Both in Ferrari 296s, they both have their advantages of what this car can do through the corners, and both got the same top end. It comes down to how much in the setup it's working, how much of a risk you're willing to take. And at the moment, Alan Patterson is not shifting off his line as he does dive down the inside. Chris Griff minds out the way, saying, listen, this is not my fight, lets him go. Great track knowledge coming on his part there to just stick out of the fight, but also looking for the best opportunity that doesn't cost him too much time in this race, and seeing where he can try and let the drivers go. Griff will be looking to try and salvage what's left of his race. At the moment, he finds himself in 20th position and will be trying to close up a 9-second deficit to Donnie Steenkamp, who is up the road from him. Jack Darts, unfortunately, will need to do a second round of pit stops to get himself sorted out, as Alan Patterson in for the divers. Herman Wepner trying to get that run. The two of them side by side heading into the right-hander. Late on the brakes. Patterson's got the advantage in through the right, but they've got the disadvantage in the left. Can he keep his nose forward just to try and make it work? Unfortunately, he just couldn't carry the drive. Herman gets the pass and now needs to try and open up the gap. Alan stuck his nose forward, tried to make it work for him. Unfortunately, just couldn't carry the momentum out far enough forward to get the advantage into the cutback. And now we'll sit looking at the rear tail lights of Herman Wepner's car. A little bit further up, Kieran Harris trying to catch up to Leclerc Besson, who holds on for 4th place. They're trying to navigate their way through a bit of trouble, as Jackie Alberts is the back marker in front of them. The Racing Snails driver caught up in a disastrous run. Now trying to pick up the pieces of the race. Has completed his first pit stop to get it out of the way, and keeping a drive now to see if he can bring it back from the brink. Will he an eye on the mirrors as well. Our Griffin Sim Racing team trying to put on a bit of pressure as Rick Thomas now finds Ruben Heineke for a bit of company. Ulrich Diaga's got Gianluca Pomrosa, who's a little bit further back, and trying to see what they can do. So a little bit of an argument coming in with inter-team battles. Midnight Racing and the Extreme Sim Racing find themselves battling out against the Griffins, who are absolutely on a charge right now to really make it work. Coming from SRSA with a solid run to take the championships, both drivers are looking to see what they can do. Ulrich Diaga hoping to keep quite consistent in his battles. He's got Gianluca to keep him a little bit in order here. Rick Thomas running out a bit wide, and it does look like then it's going to be a pass, and it has, for Ruben Heineke to get up, done, and now opens up the run, trying to see what he can do. And ultimately, it's now going to be a long race. For those who have completed their first pit stops, it's going to be a long time to get it done, as we're still 3 minutes away from the first 20 minutes of this race completed, leaving the next hour for the drivers to consider their strategies to see what's going to be working out in their favor. As the Kluberson defends the inside line ahead of Kieran Harris, the two of them fighting tooth and nail. The Kluberson managing just to stay alive at the moment, as a solid run for Kieran Harris out of Speaker Corner, closes up at a rate of not up into fifth, looks towards the inside, braked early, backed out of it, and just that little bit of movement going and forcing Leclerc to make a mistake through Puan. And now it allows Kieran Harris to come right back at him. Looks around the outside. Leclerc guards that inside line. He's not going to let it happen. And ultimately, it's going to be a hard chase. Puts the car right back into the middle. A hard defense, a very fair defense. And now trying to see where it's going to help him out in the mix of things. Right behind them, though, they do have Chris Biermeister. That is now looking to see if he can turn the duo into a trio. And Jackie Alberts finds himself just viewing in as a spectator to it. So great run from our competitors, trying to figure out what is going to be their advantage here. Our closest fight is between these two, and Kieran Harris hoping that he can have that drive. Looks down towards the inside line, but through the bus stop, couldn't quite get that drive to work out in his favor. Tries to keep as close as he can, ultimately not having it on the way out. Leclerc managing to open up the gap, and now heading towards Les Coub. It's going to be last on the brakes, trying to make it work. A big look to try and gain a bit of time here, and Harris hoping to carry a bit of momentum, as it didn't quite work out for him to get that little bit of a charge. Kieran Harris now hopes to get a solid drive as we jump on board. This is where life gets interesting. Through Eau Rouge, it's all about keeping it together, and it gets quite loose at the top there before you now have to get a little bit of a hard charge on the way through. He's into the slipstream, no advantage to be gained here. He looked to the middle and now just has to wait it out that little bit more. Sunk it deep into the corner as he's done before. That's cost him time, and trying to get that little bit of momentum as Chris Kreff runs into a bit of trouble. Kreff into trouble at the top of the hill, loses the rear end. A sharp impact into the wall. We've seen this before, and unfortunately it landed up with a retirement. Well, for Chris Kreff, it finds him waiting for the field. He's managed to cross the circuit, but waiting to try and reverse. Unfortunately, decides he's going to rather tow it back just for safety's sake, and throws him out of the order. So that little bit of movement at the top, a very warm circuit that we've got here today, means that the grip levels are not ideal. They're not the greatest, and you've got to take it into consideration as you're attacking the corners. They're to and fro to try and make it up, and that little bit of a slide will start to take a bit of life out of the tyres. Chris Biermeister now finds himself on the back of Kieran Harris and Leclerc Glasson, joining up with the duo to form a trio, forcing Leclerc to be a bit of a cork in the bottle right now as he tries to battle it out, giving it everything he can, and Harris hopes to try and chase him down. Swings through the left, and it's going to be gunning it all the way through in towards the bus stop. He tried to see if he can get a little bit of a later braking to close up that gap. He knows that Chris Biermeister is now on his tail, and Chris is going to keep a solid drive to see if he can make it work in his favor. However, Dago Krobler still holds on to the lead with a 5.2 second gap to Jason Farmer. Jared McComb holds on to third place, 4 seconds behind Jason Farmer. Leclerc 7 seconds behind, but Leclerc has got both his competitors sitting within a second of one another, now finding themselves that little bit closer, that little bit more into the fight, and a little bit more of a problem to go and contend with. They're going to have to think, right, what's the plan here to ultimately stay the course, to move forward, and to see who will be able to hold on to the top run of the step. Alan Patterson finds himself in 9th position as a Pro-Am driver. That is exactly where he wants to sit as he chases down Herman Whitmer and also keeps on the drive with Gerard Pretorius trying to close up the gap. A number of drivers out here tonight going and giving it everything they can to really make it work, and ultimately who has got the solid drive. Gianluca trying to get the drive on Ulrich de Jager, see if he can make it work out for him, trying to make up a little bit of time here as we got 58 minutes to go. This is now, you start to consider your options. 45 minutes is the halfway mark in this race, and it is roughly where you want to get that first pit stop done and dusted for our top 9 drivers. Well, you need to get your first pit stop done and dusted. How far do you leave it? We've seen in the previous race that the drivers left it right to the end. Henry Platt being one of those drivers that left the pit stop to the final lap of the race to get the second one out the way, and that helped secure that second place. Now, not here tonight, so will not be scoring points, but ultimately keeping a very close eye on what can happen in the championship. For those that are sitting out of the race, this is times that you sit down with a pen and paper and you start jotting down little nuances that the teams have. If you're an engineer, you start looking at the times, you start looking at the drivers, and you start working out what commonalities start to come out. When roughly do each of the drivers pit? And that is where the team strategy comes into play. When you have that little bit of extra, when you got that friend on your shoulder that's done playing games and getting in your ear to chat to you, or even as a driver, you start to pick up those little moments and just mentally record them. That, hey, listen, I need to keep a solid run through this, and ultimately where I'm going to go. Chris Kriff pulls into the pits, allowing the rest of the cars to come on by, and continues on the race. A number of our drivers just eyeing out their opportunities here. And we'll be trying to figure out the run. So Chris Biermeister up 11 positions from where he started. Credit 17th, now finds himself in 6th. Luke Naines, who is down in 7th position, started in 24th, and now finds himself 17 positions up from where he started. Alan Patterson up 14 positions, with Leon Swan up 19 positions from where he started in 30th, and now finds himself in 11th position, trying to hunt down that top 10. Sean Lerero finds himself up 12, Donny Sierkup up 14, and a solid run for them. But the last of the runners that are going, not the ones that have left unfortunately, but the ones that are still sticking out to the very end, and gosh darn it, earn the respect of those drivers out there. Jack Darts has lost the most out of every driver on the grid. 18 positions down from where he started. Started in 11th, finds himself in 18th, finds himself in 29th, trying to go and claw back some of the time in this race. He's trying desperately to do it. Keegan Bowen, exactly the same problem coming into play, but he is 13 positions down from where he started. We saw him moving offline at the top of the hill of Eau Rouge just before the carnage started. Well, he now finds himself in 20th position, needing to claw back. But remember, they have completed their first round of pit stops, and that can be a very telling sign for a number of drivers of how you want to get this to work. Chris Biermeister catches up to Kieran Harris, the two of them, Now see Leclerc just ahead, trying to open up a little bit of room. Leclerc hoping to just get past the likes of Conrad Martin, who holds 18th position. Conrad in that 18th position, right ahead, will notice in the relative and notice in the mirrors, hey listen, the cars are coming through. He's not going to make it too easy because he doesn't want to lose the drive himself, but at the same time, he can't really fight for position. So it's going to be a little bit of give and take here to try and make it work. And Conrad Martin, a veteran in the world of Assetto Corsa Competizione, will try and open up the door where he can find it and where he deems fit for it to work out for him. And ultimately, that turned up at turn 4, allows the clue to come through. Kevin Harris now stuck behind, and the likes of Chris Biermeister will have to see what they can do. So a good look for Conrad Martin as he gives that little bit of room, trying his best, opening up where he can, takes a dive to the left-hand side, allowing both cars to go, applies the brakes gently just to let them go on by. He knows he's got no pressure from Donny Steenkamp in 19th position and has a little bit of time to play with. It's, oh, Gerard Pretorius, wrong way around, and that is just coming out of the hairpin. So just out of Les Coombe, the hairpin, Biltong power, well, meets concrete power, slips the rear out, puts the nose forward, and unfortunately that Griffin is a deer in the headlights who had to try and get himself going, losing out to Rern Heineke and Rick Thomas in one fell swoop. Not what he wanted to have in this race, and that little loss of time now finds himself trying to pick up the pieces of where he can go. Ultimately, this is a drive for our competitors to stay the course. Who will be able to go that little bit further in this race and ultimately be able to take that big step forward. So far, though, we haven't had a true estimate on what the pit stop times are going to be. A number of drivers had to serve their little bit of repair time during the course of their pit stops and will be thinking about crucial ideas. No, actually, we do have a general idea, and that comes in from Rern Heineke. Heineke was stopped in the box for 15 seconds, but the pit stop from entry to exit was a 1 minute 30. Leon Swan was stopped in for 5 seconds, and it was a 1 minute 20 from entrance to exit. So roughly what you're looking at, if you're basing it on a fuel limit, you're going to be looking at a 1 minute 30 that you're going to have to be ahead of your nearest competitor to ensure that you're in safe stead and not going and running into any problems. This is where you've got to start to think, where can you open up those gaps? How crucial is the pit stops coming into play? Well, quite a bit. You need a 1 minute 30 gap to try and see if you can move forward. Oh, as Kieran Harris gets it snapped underneath him, he goes around, he keeps it out of the wall, but Harris saves the car, loses out to Biermeister, loses out to Haynes, and loses out to Webner as well. So not an ideal run for him. Unfortunately finds himself taping down the order, and now it's going to be a bit of hard work for the Midnight Racing BMW to make its way back up into the fight. 12 laps in, Bagel Krobler holds the charge and holds a dominating gap of 8 seconds ahead of Jason Farmer, who's going that little bit further into the race. Jared Coombe holds on for a third place at this stage, trying to give it a hard push up through the order. Kluberson into fourth, Chris Biermeister in fifth place, Luke Vantum, Retner, Kieran Harris, along with Alan Patterson and Leon Swan rounds out your top 10. And these drivers giving it everything they can. Keegan Bowen managing to get the pass done on Donny Steenkamp, the Griffin Sim Racing team in the BMW, loses out to Keegan Bowen, the previous Pro-Am champion, now trying to pick up the pieces off the race. Landed up in a world of hurt a little bit earlier, but now slowly but surely finding himself clawing his way back into this race, trying to find a bit of time here, but is a long way down from the top of the pits, which Leon Swan was the currently leads out those that have done their first pit stop in. Big thank you to Mr. Frosty himself. Roughly a 2 minute for a tyre stop, if memory serves. That you are correct. 2 minute if you add in tyres. If you take away tyres, you're looking at a 1 minute 30 with a good bit of fuel dumped in the tank roughly. That's going to make things a little bit more interesting, and it's good to have our drivers out there in the virtual grandstands. If you're just joining us, a massive welcome to round 2 of the EG Evolved ACC GT3 Championship Season 27 right here at RaceFace.Pro, and we're into the last 49 minutes of this race. It's been a bit of a chaotic start for a number of drivers, and landing up in a huge impact at the top of the hill. It was a bit of a chaotic bounce around for many of our competitors, now trying to find out what they can do to keep the race going and how far are they willing to go. Number of competitors unfortunately not finding solace in seeing it through to the end. Others just trying to go and scramble for every bit of the points that they can to try and bring themselves back into the fight. And there's always an old saying, and I repeat it over and over and over, to those that have left the server and looking back on the stream, and I know there is a good couple of you. Chaps, you've seen the green, you got to see the checker. Even with laps down, it's still not over until it's gone past the checkered flag. And continuing on, every little point you don't know might be the point you need to win out on the championship. That 1 point in round 2 might be what you need heading forward. As Luke Naines managing to get ahead of Herman Webner, now it's going to be Webner hunting down for that 6th place. They're trying to hunt on past. They've got Jackie Alberts for a bit of company just ahead of him. Jackie hoping to just keep a solid run for the race. Excels, and Herman takes the dive down the inside. Herman gets the pass, and that allows a great run as Luke Naines dives into the pit. So Lucan going to be thanking Jackie on that one. So Jackie was actually the yellow. Luke Naines, the Snails Racing, now finds himself cruising down pit lane, and with Kieran Harris joining suit. Alan Patterson will dart up the order into 7th, and that changes from our top 9 needing a pit stop to fall down the order. And once again, Leon Swan finds himself going and fighting further up the order with that early pit stop. Might not have been planned, but Lady Luck may have been smiling upon me. Vega Croblet holds the fastest lap time of the race thus far. Farmer in 2nd place. A great one to see our drivers out there having a bit of fun and really showing what they can do here tonight. Farmer hoping that he can get the run. Jared Raccoon hoping that he can hold on to a podium after missing out the first round of the season. Was watching upon the sidelines with his dad, and now seeing that he has an option to keep going. Kluberson catching the car as it slid round into likes of Puon, and just managing to keep that run ahead of Chris Biermeister, who holds on through the top 5 at the moment. Herman Webner will be trying to close up the 5.9 second deficit behind, and at the moment Chris trying to see what he can do. The fastest of the Extreme Sim Racing team at the moment, now with a solid charge. Rune Heineke trying to catch up to Leon Swan, who's just within arm's reach of him. And this has been a build-up, coming and coming and coming. And now it has finally reached the head. Heineke, who did an early pit stop, looking to try and take over the lead of those that have done the pit stop, will have to battle out against the big Aston Martin of Leon Swan, who is not backing down from the fight. He is going to absolutely keep the pressure in it, and Heineke is going to have to find out a bit of pace here to see what he can do. The Kluberson diving down into the pit lane. That's going to free up Chris Biermeister as he hopes to get a solid run. It does look like Herman Webner is going to carry on, and one wonders if Alan Patterson might employ the same tactics. He's going to keep it nice and tight and get it all the way through. So Alan going to go longer in this race. He feels that he needs to try and stretch that tank a little bit longer as we're into the 44 minutes of the race. Leon Swan trying to carve his way through as Rowan Heineke for the Griffin Sim Racing team on his tail as he pushes that little bit further, trying to see if he can get involved into the fight. Gianluca hoping to also get a solid run up against Ulrich de Jager. Good to see the Midnight Racing up against one of the old veterans here at RaceFace.Pro, Ulrich Diaga for the Griffin Sim Racing team, not having an easy time out there, both in BMWs, both trying to find out where they can really pick up the pace and see how far they can really draw it in to make it work out ideally for them. Ron Heineke and Leon Swan now find themselves into bus stop to try and get themselves going, as Leclerc still finds himself in the pit, and it's going to be Heineke pulling the trigger on that pit stop. Heineke going and taking the gamble here to complete his pit stops. He is going the extra little bit here to complete all the pit stops to go and fight out against Sean Lerrero, who's done the exact same of completing it early, which means for the next 43 minutes is racing to the end. This allows the rest of the field to come through, and our drivers are going to fight their way through. Rick Thomas now gets on by as Leclerc managing just to roll out of pits, and this is where a dreadfully long pit lane does tend to take a lot of that momentum out of you that you're going to have to build up and go and find what you can do. So Leon Swan still holds out those that have done their first pit stop and finds himself now 56 seconds behind Alan Patterson, who holds on to 6th position. And our top 6 yet to do their first set of pit stops to try and get it done, dusted, and out the way. So a bit of a gamble coming in from some of our competitors to try and see if they can ultimately move on forward. For others, it's a little bit more of a difficult chance to see who will stay at the top. Yakanadia, a little bit of a snap oversteer, but he's had to fish the rear back, try and carry on momentum, as we've got Andrew Harris now closing up the gap as well. Harris, wanting to be a big part of this, sees a bit of a fight coming into play. Yakanadia right behind him in the review mirrors. He knows that Yaku got the advantage and got the win last time out. He doesn't want to let that happen again. He wants to see where that midnight racing machine can carry on going. Did peer towards pit lane, but it's going to be Yakanadia who pulls the trigger on that pit stop and gets it done and dusted. Griffin Sim Racing team of Ron Heineke exits pit lane and finds himself a little bit down the order, but is leading out those that have completed their first pit stop, and now finds himself in 17th position as he falls a little bit further down as well, as here comes Donnie Steenkamp, who did not come past him, believe it or not. Albert opted to rather wait it out that little bit, and now the two teammates looking to try and carry each other through a little bit here, and that also has helped out Jean Fitzale for the Racing Snails, an opportunity for him to try and see how close he can play his cards to his chest here and see ultimately what it's going to be. Chris Beamister finds himself into pit lane. Alan Patterson going to be one of the last that is still out there needing to do their first pit stop. Bagger Hoblet, Jason Farmer, Jared Bakum, Herman Whitner, and Alan Patterson will be the drivers considering their options in this race with 41 minutes to go of where on earth they're going to get those pit stops done and dusted, and how long is it going to take to get it done and dusted. Leon Swan was stopped for through the pits was a 1 minute 20 to get it done and dusted. For Ron Heineke, who got his final pit stop done and dusted, he's a little bit down the order from where he wanted to be, but it was a good stop. A 32 seconds, so there's a new set of tires on this car to carry on the race. He was stopped in the box for the whole pit lane time of 1 minute 47. So still got a little bit of room to go, but he's on a new set of boots here and finds himself in a valuable spot of 17th position. Jared Bakum unfortunately gets it wrong. Jared into the wall, hard impact at the top of the hill, got it all out of shape. And let's quickly hop on board and find out what happened. So in through the left, car gets a little unsteady, throws the rear out. He's trying to bring it back, unfortunately just couldn't get it all the way through. An impact against the wall, now finds himself now going and trying to drive the car. Absolutely with a bit of pain there, bit of frustration would be also bleeding through on Jared's face as he now needs to limp this car around, and slowly but surely that goes and opens up an opportunity for Alan Patterson to close up the gap, to really start trying to draw his way in. And a critical mistake we've seen twice so far in by drivers themselves, not by assisted, have landed up in some major damage to the cars that they'll need to get done. And Jared finds himself sliding out, and that was through Puon. A little too hard, a little too aggressive, and I think the frustration bleeding through more and more, making mistakes as it goes. He's got that little bit of damage on the car. He's gonna have to take a breather. He's gonna have to just try and open those hands, take a deep breath, close them back up again, and continue on the race. He will be having Vega Krobler talking his ear, saying, don't worry, keep the focus up, keep going, along with Derek, his dad, giving him that bit of support as well, trying to help egg his son on and say, come on, we can do this. Oh, and the rear just slips out again. Those tires are just absolutely cooked, and every time he tries to get the momentum, they're just way too hot to push too hard. He's trying to keep race pace on a set of tires that are absolutely out of the running, and I do think the frustration coming into play. So that's major damage occurred to his car. Gonna have to take a nice gentle drive through Blanchemont and now heading in towards pit lane. This is going to be a long pit stop, and unfortunately is going to take him out of the top 3 for now, but he needs to get that car done, replace that set of shoes that he's got on there, and see if he can carry on the race. Herman Wepner for the Extreme Racing team, now sponsored by Jutech, keeping the pressure on Leclerc Besson just ahead of him, and it's going to be a hard run between both competitors, not looking to give up the fight, as Gianluca Palmarosa, Conrad Martin manages to get past Gianluca Haynes, and Leon Swan get themselves into the pits. Donny Steenkamp also darts into the pits. We're starting to see more and more drivers get their pit stops done and dusted and focus on what they need to do to see it through to the end. What do they need to try and keep that little bit of momentum that can make or break the race? A great run from our competitors thus far, and everyone looking for an opportunity here to really make it work for them. Ultimately, who is going to have the drive? Well, that is yet to be decided, as everyone wants to make it work. Everyone wants to be the fastest out there, but everyone needs to try and think of what can they do to ultimately stay ahead of the pack, to really keep ahead of the competition. Rick Thomas into the pits, Jared Pretorius into the pits, a late break coming in for the likes of Herman Wepner. He absolutely got on the anchors a little too late and gone and landed up to see a proper race. And, well, drivers giving it everything that they can. And I can't believe it's going to be a huge run. It's just a proper run for our competitors out there. Big welcome to Tiana Spuerta. And going and saying, Impressor, I can see the screen to give a bit of commentary. Well, in my old age nowadays, it's a little bit harder, you know. Can't quite get it right in as much as these youngsters can, and continue to give great shows. Vega Krobler into the pits as Jason Farmer continues on the race. And Tianas, good to see that Hunty Myberg's got a paint job on the car. It only took you 6 years. Well done. It's wonderful to go and see that the drivers are out there and having a solid run from each of our competitors. Really giving it a hard toss and throw around the circuit. Alan Patterson up into third, not going for his pit stop as yet. Vega Krobler will lose out a run here to Alan Patterson, but the question comes in. Alan is following to Jason Farmer, two former teammates at one stage of the game, going back a bit of time. Jason Farmer and the likes of Alan Patterson have been on the same team this, well, I would say it wouldn't be this year, it would be last year, if I remember correctly. It was a race to see. This has always been who can stay at the end, who can go that little bit further, but now it's turning into who's got the strategy calls to really make it work. So Vega's pulled into the pits, he's down into third, as we cast our eyes back to Herman Wepner and Leclerc Besson still fighting out between one another. And it is Jared Raccoon coming out of the pits after the little bit of repair work, finds himself behind Sean Barrero. So it's good to see that he's able to get that car out, but now needing to try and claw back some time after a solid impact against the wall. We've seen 3 cars land up with that, and now it's just trying to find that little bit of time to go a little bit further into the race. Herman Webner, the true beside, continue on to drive and see where they go. So, of our drivers that are still yet to do the pit stop, Jason Farmer and Alan Patterson yet to do their very first. Vega Krobler, Chris Biermeister, Drew Basson, Herman Webner and Kieran Harris are yet to do their second pit stop in this race, and continuing to go through. Jared Raccoon yet to do his second pit stop. Everyone else has completed their second pit stop except for William Garrett, believe it or not, down in 26th position, is yet to do his pit stop, and it looks like it might be Jack Darts as well, who needs to get his stop done and dusted. So Jack Darts unfortunately pulled into the pits, got a second, he went through the lane the second time, but it didn't count, so he has to do one more stop, making it 3 pit stops for the race. That is going to be a frustration point for the driver, needing to try and think, I've got to go back in a third time and see the darn people down the pit lane a third time to make it work. Rick Thomas under pressure from Gerald Pretorius, and Rick Thomas gives the position to Gerald Pretorius. He made a mistake into the dirt, was a little bit slow, brought the car down to a reasonable speed, and now released Gerald Pretorius to go that little bit further. Jason Farmer and Alan Patterson finally find themselves into the pits. Vega Krobler finds himself heading up to a bus stop, looking to retake the lead of the race. He's getting chased down a little bit further back, 36 seconds back is Chris Biermeister, who's got Leclerc Basson chasing him down 1.4 seconds, and Herman Webner just keeping that bit of company there, and Herman riding over the curbs, constantly trying to push a little bit harder, finding out a little bit of time here as he tries to draw the gap in closer and closer through Blanchemont, heading up towards our bus stop. It's a long left-hander. You keep on the power all the way through. You rely on that little bit of aero grip to come in. It's late on the brakes and a solid leap forward. Herman Webner trying to make it work. Leclerc battles back. Couldn't quite get the drive on the inside as those wheels spin up and loses out. So Herman Webner took the dive from yards back. Leclerc Basson had to open up the wheel, but you can be sure will return. Oh, and a contact between the two, unfortunately. Leclerc tried to return the favor and unfortunately landed up, clipping the rear of Herman Webner, and now is at a slow go out of the hairpin. It was a quick look. It was a I can do it drive. And as we cast our eyes back after the pass was done into the bus stop, here it comes. 4th gear, looks to the right, late on the brakes, trying to make it work and just nailing into the rear, gets himself turned round, and that unfortunately landed up with both cars finding themselves a little bit in a bit of an awkward place. Herman Webner was able to maintain that 4th place, but now is under pressure from Kieran Harris, who is right on his tail. Now Harris is going to really go and keep the pressure on. He's going to try and find that little bit of momentum to see if he can really hope to keep that charge. And ultimately, it's going to be a solid run. Now, this is where you start to concentrate on the factors. Start to try and eye out the opportunities and see where you're going to go through the order. I mean, this is where you want to try and move forward. Rick Thomas down in 12th position. Is onto the back of Gerald Pretorius. Ulrich Diaga finds himself down on Sean Marrero. Jared Leclerc now trying to close up that gap. Jared yet to do his final pit stop of the race. Will slip down, but nothing means that he can't fight against the two Griffinson racing teams and apply a little bit of pressure there as Jason Farmer dives into the pits. Now this is an interesting call, going for an undercut on Vega Krobler, who holds up onto that top start. Chris Biermeister holding on to 3rd place now. Tries to find a little bit of time, but Rick Thomas landing up, turned around. So Rick Thomas having a little bit of a rough one out there, and he lost it at the top of the hill into the wall. So coming up Rouge, unfortunately, get that car completely turned around, has to slowly get himself back out on track, And now this is a different run altogether. So Rick Thomas now trying to pick up the race pace after a bit of a mistake. Jerry Coombe, Ulrich Diaga find each other, and with Sean Guerrero up the road, you can be sure it's going to be a hard fight indeed for them. Kieran Harris now finds himself into pit lane to try and sort out that pit stop. Begor Grobler and Chris Biermeister will take up first and second in the race. Herman Webster will take up third on his charge up through it all. The Kluber Son will go and clear on past Jason Farmer, and Alan Patterson will be the next car to clear on by. Jason Farmer still in the pits, will find himself a little bit down the order here, but still trying to see if the undercut might possibly be able to be the thing that works out in his favor. Conrad Martin in a bit of a race down at the bottom, trying to keep a solid run. And good to see Conrad Martin not giving up the fight, as he does allow the BMW ahead of Jackie Alberts to run that little bit of run. Jackie Alberts, unfortunately, down a lap, has got some pace underneath him. Conrad Martin in 18th position does not want to compromise on his run. He wants to keep it all together through and through, not wanting to lose out that little bit of drive. As we do see Andrew Harris down in 21st position, he's onto the back of Christian Zetzman. One driver we haven't spoken too much about, Christian Zetzman, with his brother watching from across the pond and keeping an eye on the racing. Absolutely great to see the drivers having a ton of fun out there. I'm trying to push that a little bit harder and ultimately see how he's going to battle back on the main thing. Kieran Harris giving a bit of chase to Leon Swan, up and under, goes and gets the pass done, and Harris tries to carry the momentum. Leon Swan trying to fight it back, but unfortunately couldn't get it done. He tries to get the drive coming out of turn 4. Side by side they go as they charge down the hill. Last of the late breakers, it's going to be Harris. It's managed to put the car forward, but he's opened up a little bit of room there, enough for Leon to look in through. Now into speaker corner, side by side as they charge through. Leon has to slot in behind, but he will get the toe. Heading into Puan, driving into the dirt, both competitors into the dirt, as Harris having to slam the door shut. Got a little bit of dirt on his tire, but Swan was really leaning into him, trying to see what he can do to move forward, and ultimately staying in for the fight. This fight between these two cars, I do not think are completely out of the running, and Andrew Harris going and fighting out against Christian Zetzman. I wonder if the two Harrises we have out on track, and I'm really going to just chuck it out there, are they brothers? I'm going to ask the question out because I haven't had the opportunity to chat to both drivers, but it would be lovely to know if they are brothers out on track, because that would make quite a few family affairs out on circuit, joining us here at RaceFace.Pro and being part of the world of sim racing here in South Africa. Leon Swan trying to give it a little bit more of a harder push down into the bus stop, hooks it into the right, now trying to hook it into the left, gets himself on the throttle, can't quite get the run, but take a look who's joined in. That is Lucan Harris to give it everything he's got, now into the top 10, and sees an opportunity to really go in for the fight. Right behind them, they do have Michael going and chasing him down. So Michael Schultz in 24th position are going and fighting. And Matty, thank you very much. They are brothers, and that's wonderful to hear. That is absolutely fantastic to hear. That's getting to have the two brothers out on track. Not often you get to do that with family, and family to family. Well done. I love to see it. I love to absolutely see it. But this question is, who's the quickest of the bunch? Well, we're going to find out as this train is starting to build up from a 2-car fight into a 3-car. We've got Kieran Harris, Leon Swan, and Lucan Hayes fighting out against one another for this top 10, 9, and 8th position. Well, at the sharp end of the field, something to talk about that we don't often get to talk about. Begor Grobler, the lone Lamborghini, holds out in first place up against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Ferrari 296s. 2 of them that have completed the pit stop, and the rest are going and fighting out. And Well, Andrew being the older brother, that's absolutely great to see and fantastic. We can see the competitors having a bit of fun out there. Ponrosa having his dad in the AMS, that's wonderful to see. Kieran is the alien of the family. Good to hear about that. And, well, I think we can make a thing happen. Even if it's a little chat, a conversation, depending on what it is, we can make things happen in the world of sim racing. I love to hear the new voices coming through, as much as the legends prior to me of George G. Max, Alan Patterson, Tristan Herbst, who has become a legend in the world of sim racing commentary, now continuing their lives in the world of commentary out there in the sports. It's absolutely wonderful to go and hear more voices coming in, more voices being a part of it. Young Race Cameron, the Bastos, all being those that have come through the commentary box and really shown off what they can do. And so far, many of them have moved on to becoming greater talents than myself, and quite envious in approach. But let's talk about the race on hand. 24 laps now tick away. Vega Krobler finds himself into the lead with one more stop to go. 23 minutes left in this race, and we did see a bit of a later pit stop in round one. It came down to the last minute and 20 seconds that Henry Platt was able to get that pass for second place. He pitted late, got the pit stop done, and then charged back out onto the track ahead of Jason Farmer. Now, Vega Krobler will take that into ideas and see where he can move through and how it's going to evolve. We've got a fight ongoing though. Leon Swan, Luke Names, and Kieran Harris fight out against one another, but right on the back of them, don't count it out, Michael Schultz, incredibly quick and talented driver in the world of ACC, didn't have the best of luck at the start of the race. Now finds himself tailing on the 3 and wanting to move forward. Now, for Michael Schultz, he's trying to catch up to Hansi Meiberg, who's 17 seconds up the road from him. This little fight is slowing the 3 cars down. Harris, Swan, and Haynes all slowing each other up just that little bit, and seeing that it's turning into a little bit of a tougher race for them. Ultimately, who's going to have the run? We're going to have to find out between them. But I do suspect that don't go and count Michael Schultz out of it just as yet, as he might put his best foot forward to see if he can get past and try and make up a bit of time. Right behind him, tailing through the Mustang, Gerard Pretorius is not completely out of the woodwork as well. Gerard Pretorius now trying to close up that gap and see if he can get involved into the fight, and ultimately it's going to be an absolute race of notes as they make their way in through Blanchemont, heading up towards the bus stop. It's all about who can send it from yards back to try and close up the gap, and so far Leon Swan outbreaks himself, loses a bit of drive. That causes a concertina effect. Immediately, Luke Nanes gets into the back of him. Gerard Pretorius joins into the body. Michael Schultz. So the Aston Martin of Leon Swan, a little too quick into the corner, went and sacrificed that little bit of time, created a concertina effect, and brought everyone towards him. Kieran Harris, a little bit slower into Les Coombe, now starts to go and see that he has a little bit of a problem on the run. So a quick look on the rear wing. Looking back, and you can see as they blitz up the hill, it's just a flurry of machinery around, and you can see the struggles happening as Leon Swan now sees Lucan Haynes under a bit of attack right behind, and now looking to get past him. That is Michael Schultz in the green Porsche. He swaps to the inside. He tried to see if he could put his nose forward. He's going to try around the outside. Can he get it going? As Lucan Haynes constantly fights back, doing everything he can. And right on the back of him, there's Gerard Pretorius. And Michael Schultz is finding a bit of frustration. He's finding that little bit of time and saying, right, I need to get past. I need a little bit of movement here because you're costing me time. We're running out of time in the race, and I need to see if I can catch up to Hansi Meiberg. It's either going to be pass or let the guys go and just think about what your race is going to be at the end of it. What could have been the race during this, that recovery of pace. A 2:17.5 was our fastest lap time set by Vega Krobler on the last lap, as he now tries to go a little bit further into this race, but we're keeping a battle on screen. 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th position on screen with one car in between them, 24th, and that is Michael Schultz, finding himself in a little bit of an awkward position, wanting to get past the drivers, but not wanting to interfere in the race, not wanting to see if he can really go and send it down the inside without making that pass work, that commitment to get it done. He can unlap himself from the race. Nothing says he can't, as it's a big look around. Lucan Haynes trying to have a run onto Leon Swan, couldn't quite get it done. Michael Schultz right into the back of him, trying to find a little bit of breathing room there as things got tight. Gerard Pretorius got fouled up behind the Porsche and will be sitting with a little bit of frustration, gritting his teeth as Michael Schultz goes for a big lunge down the inside, gets it past Lucan Haynes and clears past. So Lucan Haynes a little bit frustrated, seeing that Michael Schultz has gotten past him. Nothing says Michael had to hang back and wait it out. Instead, now the opportunity comes in. You talk about thinking sideways. You've got a competitor that has got pace, that kept the pressure on the back of you, now can tow you along, try and bring you a little bit closer, and Leon Swan might be that next one to go for. So Michael Schultz can be the wrecking ball that you can utilize, but I do think Lucan Haynes starting to think, hang on, I need to get this done. Leon Swan gets it completely wrong through the corner, loses out to Lucan Haynes. Gerald Pretorius trying to snatch that position back, couldn't quite get it done, and Michael Schultz finds that little bit of room up the order. So he's managing to tick the boxes little by little and leaving the competitors to fight it out. Well, it was Kieran Harris who's taken the absolute positive run here and opened up a 2.3 second gap and now holds on to that 8th position, not wanting to lose a bit of time. Lucan Haynes trying everything he can with Leon Swan battling back. Gerard Pretorius looked down the inside, couldn't quite get that pass done. Absolutely looked to try and send it down the inside, couldn't quite get it done and dusted. Lucan Haynes keeps the pressure right onto the back of Michael Schultz. I'm not quite sure if he is wanting to get that pass done and dusted, or if he's trying to egg on Michael Schultz to try and bring him in a little bit closer to Kieran Harris. Try and force him. Come on, buddy. You need to keep that drive going, as this is our closest fight out on circuit at the moment. Our top 5 yet to do their final pit stop of the race will be considering their options and will be thinking, right, what do we need to do here? And none of them want to be drawn into the battle. Jason Farmer, Ron Heineke, Kieran Harris, there's on the top 3 that have already completed their pit stops. And at the moment, Jason Farmer 15 seconds away from Alan Patterson. Ron Heineke 33 seconds away from Jason Farmer. And with a 1 minute 30 pit stop time from a 15 second. That is a splash and dash. Well, that's without taking a set of boots. Can be an ultimate done deal for many of our drivers. So for those that are going deeper into the race, if you're thinking of putting on a new set of tyres, you're in for a world of hurt. And so far, it does lean in the favour that the Ferrari has been one of the more dominant cars here at Spa. The BMWs, a little less so, as we watch Leon Swan having a great go up against Lucan Haynes. Tries to look around the outside, late on the brake, side by side between the two as they head in through the right. A quick left, and before they dive in through the right, Lucan Haynes managing to keep the drive, keeps that bit of momentum, and now trying to find out what he can do. Swan swings to the inside, can't quite get it done as Haynes sinks it in a little bit deep, finds that he loses a bit of time. Gerald Pretorius eyeing out this battle, just sits back, waits for the mistakes to happen. As both Leon Swan and Lucan Haynes going and losing that rear a little bit of moments. So now that's how you're gonna make it work. Drivers giving it everything they can to push that little bit further into the race. Who is going to have that ultimate run? Who's got enough tyre life in the cars? And with 15 minutes and 10 seconds remaining, this is going to be the longest of those 15 minutes of the driver's lives. This is going to be one that your hands are sweaty, your knees are shaking, you are literally biting your lip. You are waiting for an opportunity, and lap after lap, your breath is getting shorter and shorter. You're holding your breath through the corners. You are absolutely giving it everything you can. Your shoulders are starting to ache. Your wrists are starting to feel it. And you are now trying to think, is this it? Is this going to be the chance? Swings around the outside as both make a mistake. Gerard Pretorius sees an opportunity. He's got the run around the outside. Unfortunately, it was a foul run coming in for both competitors. It did look like it was Lucan Haynes who decided to keep his foot in it and will get a warning for track limits. But Gerard Pretorius eyed out his time, now trying to get a little bit of momentum on his side. Out of Les Curve, Leon Swan now tucked up behind as they charge up the hill. This is all becoming manic. Lucan Haynes made a critical mistake. So did Leon Swan, and you can see the unsteadiness as they came over the hill. This is that big push, and unfortunately Michael Schultz has definitely checked out of that fight. Side by side between the Ford Mustang and the Aston Martin. Both V8s, both front engines, rear wheel drives, get it in through the corner. Gerard gets a little bit of understeer coming into play with a snap oversteer. He had to counter on the way out. Was able to just get himself forward. Leon Swan had to back out. That little bit of momentum, but now that's brought them a little bit closer to Lucan Haynes, who he thought he might have dispatched him. Lucan gets it out of shape and loses a bit of time. This has brought Gerard back into the fray, and now the battle once again revives. It's once again in a hard chase. In through the long left-hander, and Gerard Pretorius of the Griffith Sim Racing team now finds himself right onto the back, trying to draw himself in a little bit closer, hold on to the anchors to try and slow these cars down. Momentum on the side. Lucan has been losing the rear of this BMW more often than not, and it's slowly but surely starting to show. Gerard Pretorius stood by, waited, bid his time, and now finds himself a little bit closer. Just in the back, you'll see a red and white BMW, and that is Sean Lerrero, who sits a second behind Leon Swan, gaining a bit of time and looking to join his fellow Griffin Sim Racing drivers, as it's a big look for Gerard Pretorius. Around the outside, it's going to be Lucan Haynes trying to defend. He puts a squeeze on, heading into the bus stop, sinks it in deep. Gerard swings it back, looking for the undercut, trying to get the drive. He's got it around the outside, but has he got the top end to go and bring it through? This is going to be a mad one. It is going to be a charge down to the wire, late into the brakes, and it's going to be a bigger problem coming in for Lucan Haynes. Turns it round, and unfortunately that is all she wrote. So let's take a look. The hairpin is the source. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, getting them confused, and thank you a little bit on that one. So the source. But let's take a look at what happened at the hairpin, because this changed the entire complexity of the race. Gerard looked down towards the inside, late on the brakes, got it hooked in, and it was a contact between Leon Swan, Kieran Harris, Sean Lerrero then got it in the neck as well, and there's Bago Krobler arriving on the scene, wondering what on earth did he come across. Now Sean Lerrero, with that little bit of damage on the car after the slight clip on the rear from, well, the likes of Lucan Haynes, now finds himself trying to drive through the damage. Leon Swan not carrying as much damage in this race. Chris Biermester finds himself into the pits and gets himself sorted out. I actually like when the crowd gets involved and does give a little bit of a, hey bud, if you didn't know, this is how it is. Absolutely love it, guys. You keep me on my toes every single time, and it's always great to see everyone joining in with the show. Sean Lerrero and Leon Swan going and giving it a hard change. Chris Biermester into the pits. Now this is going to drop him down. Jason Farmer looking to try and get the run here as Biermester rolling down, just going and trundling down pit lane. Jason Farmer up into the top 5 now. Sees an opportunity to move on forward. He does see Conrad Martin ahead of him to try and pull himself along a little bit closer, but it's 10 seconds, that's 11 seconds now, between himself and Alan Patterson. who keeps that little bit of a run with Glubison into third, Hermanwetner in second, and Bego Krobler. He's been trying to slice his way through the field, trying to see if he could get past Leon Swan. It was a bit of a struggle to get past the drivers, but now sees his opportunity to try and open up the gap as Sean Loureiro instantly goes on the attack of Leon Swan, trying to spot his opportunity. So Gerald Torres got away lucky, and unfortunately it was not to be the case for Lucan Haynes and for Leon Swan. Ultimately, Sean Loureiro finds himself as a little bit of a loss further down with that bit of damage. Ruben Heineke clears on past Chris Biermeister and now continues on the drive. So solid run from Mr. Heineke after unfortunately having his brother careening into the wall and just, as I would say cratering into the wall. Now trying to see if he can bring the Heineke name to the top. It is nose to tail for the Griffin Sim Racing team. Sean Loureiro trying to get past Leon Swan on the Scion team. Unfortunately, couldn't quite get it done right in front of them. They've got to be rather careful. That is Bego Krobler, who leads out the race. And these two are trying to close up at a rate of knots. One mistake might have these two piling into the back of him. And he's got to be oh so careful not to go and land up with a huge problem on it as well. We also now got a new battle that is formed after the pit stop. Ruben Heineke and Chris Biermeister. Griffin Sim Racing team versus the Extreme Sim Racing team. These two look to fight it out. Sean Loureiro managing to get the pass on Leon Swan. And let's quickly take a look at how that all happened. As he was heading out of the corner into, looks at that would be Huon to get it, and takes a dive down the inside to get that pass done and dusted. Leon Swan tried to go for a bit of a cutback to see if he can get past Sean Loureiro. Ultimately couldn't quite get it done. Has to take his chance to sit back. Now, Chris Biermeister finds himself further up in the order, and this month would mark his, I would say, second year in sim racing. First or second year in sim racing, and started out with the Pandacity team going in the start of his ACC career, has been developing, honing his skills, and joined up with the Extreme Sim Racing team, and now finding himself up into 7th position in the Pro Division. He's quite happy on a solid driving. Chris Biermeister hoping to carry a lot of momentum forward from it since taking his first podium in World of Evolution Racing Academy Sunday Championship at Alton Park, out of all places. He's gone and really improved to find himself now fighting up a bit further. It really does show that there has been a growth from these drivers. Many started out in the AM division, really slugging it out, trying to figure out what can they do to get towards the pro, and watching the pros out on the streams, seeing, right, that's where I want to be. And every single one of these drivers here tonight have put on a fantastic show of why they still stick out, why they go that little bit further, and why they will go and call themselves pro in the world of sim racing. Hansi Myberg trying to catch up to Donnie Sterncup, the Griffin Sim Racing team, battling against the Pandacity team right in front. So now Hansi Myberg trying to close up the gap. Michael Schultz finds himself 14 seconds off the back of him as we enter the closing stages of this race. 6 minutes left to go. A hard charge all the way through, and every single driver trying to give it that last little bit, that last little drive, and who is going to be able to get that drive to the end. This is where it becomes a solid run for our competitors, and who is going to be at the sharp end of the field. A solid competitive run for each of our drivers to go that little bit further, to really make it work. Hansi Myberg, a stalwart in the name, unfortunately misses the brake marker. And don't worry, Hansi, Dennis Burton and I have got a booster seat for you to find that brake marker you just absolutely missed into the chicane. Leon Swan, Sean Loureiro, they still keep their fight going and trying to keep the battle on as Leon Swan try to go and bring it from yards back. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to get it done and dusted. We'll see Sean Loureiro carrying on the momentum. But the question comes in now, as Bego Krobler pulls into the pits to get his pit stop done and dusted. 4 minutes and 58 seconds to go. The drivers will have about 2 laps to get this done. They're either in now or the next lap. That is the absolute limit, as it does take you about 2 minutes 19 seconds to 2 minutes 20 in clear air to get it done. Bego Krobler's last time in a bit of traffic cost him down to a 2:21 to go and make their way through. So the drivers need to really plan out their options here of when they're getting this pit stop done. They're undercut versus overcut. Jason Farmer in the top 5 now is going to see whether the gamble has worked out in his favor. Bego Krobler is into the box, getting himself sorted, trundling down pin lane. Herman Wepner next to dive in, tries to take a look. Next to the drivers, Leclerc Basson for the A1 Esports looks to try and see what he can do. Once a very, very strong team, Leclerc now finds himself going an extra lap into the race. So he's taking the gamble here to pit on literally the last lap, the dying lap to get it done. Alan opts he's not going to run it that close. He's going to pull into the pits. So Leclerc has taken the dice in hand, has rolled it to try and see whether that is going to work out in his favor. He is determined that is this going to be the run of a lifetime to get him up towards the top. Well, for Bego Krobler, who finds Jared Coombe right behind him. Jared going to swing out, and Bego Krobler going to try and maintain his drive. Tucks in behind to try and pull himself along. Bego Krobler holds on to the lead of the race. Will cast his eyes back. See, Leclerc Basson has now rolled the dice to go that little bit further into the race. And I do think Jason Farmer is going to be thinking, hold the phone here, buddy. There's 11 seconds up the road. You won't be able to get that stop done. How on earth are you going to make this work? I think Leclerc is aiming for a top 5, and he has absolutely gone the country mile to make it work, to really see if he can draw it in that little bit further. Herman Wepner now exits pit lane as Ruan Heineke, Chris Biermeister all come charging up the hill, and they do bring in a solid run up through the order. Now, for those that are taking a look at the difference of the Pro and Pro-Am, just want to give you a heads up on that one. That was because the server settings have not been set to Pro and Pro-Am, and as a visibility on boards, a little bit of mistake on the server side, but we'll be up and going for round 3. Don't stress, we'll keep you up to date on what's going. Well, that being said, we talk about the fights. Alan Patterson, Leon Swan, now right up against one another. Sean Loureiro further up ahead, needing to fight it out for the run, and Alan just coming out of the pits now has to deal with 2 drivers that the only way I can describe it has got the red mist in front of them and completely pissed off on the race, and now trying to see what they can do. Further up the road, Ruan Heineke and Herman Wepner keep each other rather company, and we'll be seeing what they can do to fight it out that little bit further. It's going to be an interesting run because Alan is now caught amongst a wasp hive and a beehive, and he's going to have to try and fight his way through it. Jason Farmer moves himself up to second as Leclerc Basson finally pulls into the pits. Hansi Meiberg finds himself right out to the back of Dani Steenkamp. We're down into the last minutes and 10 seconds, and we have got a battle of note. Drivers all over one another, trying to push that a little bit further and see who can go. Ulrich Diaga right behind Alan Patterson. Don't miss out that one, because Ulrich Diaga is looking to try and pass them to go and find out for it. This is going to be a solid run for the competitors. This is going to be a mad dash down to the wire. And who has got enough in the tank? Who's got enough spring in the step, that last little kick to really make it work? Who is really going to send it from here to oblivion to make themselves known in the race? And we've got Hansi Meiberg on screen. He's got Chris Biermeister behind him. Right ahead is Dani Steenkamp trying to see if he can filter on forward. And at the moment, Leclerc Basson finds himself into 6th position. He is falling down the order and is seeing drivers come through, because now this fight for Ruan Heineke and Herman Wepner has just turned into a fight for 3rd place. This is now a last lap for the final step on the podium between Heineke of the Griffin Sim Racing team and Herman Whitner of the Extreme Sim Racing team. They're trying to give it a little bit of a high push. Leclerc Besson finds himself slotting into the mix with Gerard Pretorius coming bailing past him, and now Gerard Pretorius gets past. Kieran Harris, further up the road, is trying to run away from them. He's trying to see what he can do. Alan Patterson fights out against Leon Swan. He gets past Leon, sinks it in deep, goes too much, and here comes Leon Swan, coming right back at him. The two going at it. Alan having to really throw the kitchen sink. Leon's now involved. Ulrich Diager's now involved. This has gone absolutely all kinds of manic. Alan hard on the brakes and slows it down incredibly, like a bus in the fast lane on the N1. He slows the pace down. Leon Swan gets nailed into the back by Ulrich Diager, and this is going to be mental. Bego Krobler, he takes a victory. Well done. Jason Farmer, second place. Great stuff. Third place on the card, so Herman Whitner fighting out against Ruben Heineke, 0.7 of a second. We're going to keep up with those battles, charging all the way through, and keep an eye on what's happening here, because this is going to be mental. This is going to be manic. Herman Whitner now 0.7 of a second away from Ruben Heineke. He's giving it a hard push. Is this going to be enough for him? Swings it through Blanchemont, guns it down towards the bus stop. Is this going to work out for him? It does look like it's going to be a lost gasp coming in for Ruben Heineke. He lates on the brakes, couldn't quite get that done. Whitner will get the drive, and Heineke will finish up behind Gerard Pretorius. He's onto the back of Kieran Harris to go that little bit further to see if he can try and make the dive. It's going to be a manic one, and right behind them, Leclerc Besson, who's unfortunately taken the gamble that didn't work out for him. Kieran Harris gets the drive over Gerard Pretorius as they gun it down to the line. Leclerc Besson sees his way there. Alan Patterson rubbing shoulders. Ulrich Diager, as it's an absolute slow gun. It is just dead slow between them, and it's going to be a drag race across the line. Alan Patterson comes ahead of Leon Swan. Ulrich Diager tried to even take the outside lane to get it done and dusted. Alan Patterson elbows out with Leon Swan. Both drivers were literally into each other and going and fighting their way through. I mean, man, oh man, you couldn't have written a better story. Alex coming across the line on his debut here in the Pro and Pro-Am, the Server 1. Alex every game will find himself 16th and across the line. Oh boy. Oh my word. And that is our championship results heading into this round. And we got to see a solid race from each of our competitors. And what a manic one that is for certain. And quite a few drivers had to go and pull out quite a few tricks out of that bag of tricks for that one. A manic drive, and what an incredible one here tonight for round 2 of the EG Evolve Simulator Rigs GT3 Championship Season 27 here at Spa-Francorchamps, located in Belgium. And man, oh man, was it something to remember. Our drivers trying that little bit harder, pushing that little bit further, thinking outside the box, and giving us a race right to the end. And we're looking forward to having a chat to our drivers after a stellar run nonetheless on a incredible race. And we have got a couple of drivers to come and have a chat to us, because it's been a manic one, and we look forward to just getting them in the box, having a bit of a understanding of what happened out there. A solid run as we gonna capture some of the highlights of tonight's race on screen and just get an idea of who to chat to here tonight for round 2 on an incredible drive. Manic, absolutely manic. I am worn out on that one, and I do think our drivers will be also feeling the pressure on it as well, because it was not an easy chase, it was not an easy time, and I don't think anyone had the easiest of drives as well. looking forward to it. So we're going to bring in our first driver here tonight to have a chat with us, and we're going to bring in Bego Krobler, who took the win here tonight. Bego, welcome to the commentary box. What a race out there, and what an exciting one down the line. For you, it looked a little bit easy, but you got to see some incredible fighting around you as well. And also had a little bit of hard work navigating your way through.
Yeah, it was not quite what we expected. Very tough race, that Henry and Chris went there tonight. I think it was very interesting. You have to play that intricate dance all night.
Absolutely, and what a drive it was from you to really go and pull your way through. How was it navigating through the traffic? Because tonight it looked a little bit busy, especially after many of the roads started doing an earlier pit stop. Some a little less fortunate of a pit stop, but still a great one nonetheless. And also having your competitors getting rather close to you towards the end.
Yeah, there was quite a few guys sort of keep an eye on what's going on around you, and quite a lot of guys that got these second starts quite early in the race, so that was quite surprising. I think I was the most one to do last second lost, so that was quite surprising, but generally speaking the traffic wasn't too bad. There was 2 occasions where things got really good, and I was quite fortunate to catch guys the nicer places around the lap. I didn't have it too bad, but I'll definitely go and watch this show.
Fun out there, and many of the drivers having some good luck, others a little less so. Your takeaway in the race during the course of it, what's your game plan on moving forward in the championship? 2 wins thus far underneath your belt here at Spa. You've managed to navigate your way through some incredibly difficult situations, but now with that little bit of momentum, the target on your back becoming a little bit of a hectic one.
Yeah, so 2 wins, 2 fastest laps, so max points in the first 2 races. You've got to think that when Chris comes back, he's definitely going to be challenging for wins. So we'll sit and we'll do the math, sort of what he needs to do for the rest of the season and what I need to do, and then obviously myself and Jason. I think he was P4 last week and P2 tonight, so he'll certainly be up there with points. And Mike and Henry are always fast, so when they're back, that's going to be quite challenging as well. You could very easily go from winning this week to still having a very good drive and not even being on the podium next week. So season's still long, and it can still get very interesting. For me, it's just enjoying the car. Really, I've seemed to be gelling with the Lambo, which I wasn't. I sort of picked the car just to try something different and have a bit of fun, but it seems to be working out quite well. So next week Hungary, which is, if we have the same turnout next week, almost 40 cars on that track, qualifying will be tough. It'll be tough to get a lap in. Blue flags will be infinitely more difficult than they were tonight, so anything can still happen.
Still going to be a long race and ultimately a good one. Well, before we let you go to enjoy the celebrations after an incredible run this evening, anything you would like to say to all the competitors out on the track, to all the teams that participated, that put in a solid bit of fight, to our partner, EG Evolve Simulator Rigs, being on board with us here at RaceFace.Pro, and most importantly, and I think you can agree with me, the race fans tuning in from around the world. We've got drivers from the UK. We have got drivers that are sitting in Liberia going and supporting us, and those sitting at home in South Africa tuning in and watching their friends, family, and loved ones fighting out.
Yeah, it's just amazing to see, after 27, well, this is season 27, I think. the ACC is still going strong and the community is still going strong and still very much in love with the sim. So to all the guys that pitch up every week and race, it's amazing to share the track with you guys every week, and it's really do have a sense of community at RaceFace, which is really great. Andres and the guys over at EG, we say this every week, but thanks so much for giving us the support and giving RaceFace the means to put on the show. And then obviously everybody that tuned in to watch the stream every week. It's still surprising every Friday when I open up the stream and look at how many views we get. It's always a pleasant surprise. And like you say, we're one of the few big ACC leagues still around, I think. So tell your mates, from wherever they are, all across the world, everybody's welcome. And if not this season, let's make the last season one to remember.
Definitely going to be an exciting one nonetheless. Beggar Krobler, thank you so much for joining us here, and congratulations on the victory for Team Wolf.
Thank you, sir.
Beggar Krobler putting on a phenomenal show here tonight and had a great race indeed. Well, our next driver is going to be someone that's going and celebrating their anniversary in sim racing, coming and joining us here. Starting out in Pandacity and called a bit of a catastrophe out on track, now finds himself in the top 10. I've got to say, Chris Beermister, a solid run. How are you feeling after that one?
I'm feeling awesome. That was a lovely race. I really enjoyed myself. Spa is one of my favorite tracks, but still, I didn't have any incidents. It was lovely. Nice race.
But it was not by an easy one indeed. You got into a few brawls out on the circuit, making it a rather difficult one, not only against competitors, but even your own teammates were giving you a little bit of a hard time out there. Take us through the race for you.
Yeah, from the start, I didn't qualify well, so I couldn't even get into the 217s. I was in the 218 high, so I think I qualified like 16th. And then through a rouge, and then the first turn there were a few incidents, and I found myself quite high up the field. And then I thought to myself, like, just be consistent at least. And through the consistency, I caught up with some other guys and passed them. And as a lot of guys, as soon as I got to them, they went off into the pits. So I was lucky there as well. And my pits were really clean and quick. And then Herman was catching me from behind, and just before he caught me, I went to go pit, and then he came out the pit quicker than me. And then to end it all, Heineke was ahead of me, and between us was Myberg. I think he was fighting for 22nd place. So I rather just thought I'd gonna keep it safe and get to the end. So I didn't want to get involved in the fight. Yeah, that's basically how it went.
And with that being said, the drivers going and fighting out, you also going and celebrating a bit of an anniversary in sim racing. How does it feel to go and end off on a high, to really go and find yourself up into the top, and considering August is where it all started?
Yeah, it's been a long time and hard work. With being in a good team where we assist each other, especially Herman is always pushing me. But it feels awesome, really. I think I finished first in Pro-Am, so I'm really happy about tonight's performance, and it can be a better anniversary present then. And thanks for reminding me. When I started out, I really was a nightmare all over the track. That's when we still ran the sprint series, and yeah, to come this far is just a lot of practice and a lot of good teammates assisting me and uplifting you all the time.
Absolutely wonderful stuff. With that being said, before we let you go to enjoy the celebrations, to enjoy the fun that you've had, anything you would like to say to all your competitors, to the fellow drivers, the fellow teams that you've got to fight out against the circuit, and most importantly, to everyone out there in the virtual grandstands cheering on from the sidelines?
Firstly, everybody that's watching in the grandstands, thank you for supporting us. Thank you for coming in week and week out. it really it makes it beneficial for us to come and race every week. That is what we race for, and we really appreciate it. All the drivers, I can promise you. Well done, Tobago, first place, awesome. Well done to Herman and Kieran. Well done to all the other riders that finished the race, and especially to you as well, Stephen. Thank you very much for your commentary. It's why the people keep coming back and watching. Thank you so much.
I think that everyone comes back for the great racing. Chris, well done on an incredible race, and we look forward to seeing you in round 3.
Thanks.
Chris Beermister going and putting on a phenomenal show, and good to see him out there having a ton of fun out on the circuit. But with that being said, we're going to move on to our next driver to come and have a bit of fun before we move on to the last of our extreme sim racers that come to join us. Let's bring in Kieran Harris to come and have a chat to us. Kieran, welcome to the commentary box, and finding yourself a little bit up the order, but also having to slug it out for majority of the race. How was that out there?
It was quite a tough race, actually, but I got through turn 1 clean, so that was pretty much set the standard for me. This track was pretty hard on tires with my setup, at least, and now I had to push the car. So I feel like I could have managed my tires a little bit better, but I managed to hold on to, what was it, 6th overall or something.
Well, it was still
quite a fun race, though.
It was a good one.
A lot of side by side, a lot of clean racing. Thanks to everyone.
If you had to pick out one of the hardest moments in that race, what would you say was the hardest moment for you out there?
Just managing my tires before the first tire change. I ended up spinning out once in the middle sector, but then just getting it back to the pit after that with the rear tires cooked after the spin out was pretty tough, trying to not lose as many positions as possible.
Well, still a good race and a lot of momentum carrying into round 3. What's your game plan for the rest of the season to carry the momentum forward? And also, considering you've also battled tooth and nail, drivers got to know what you can do, and you got to find out what they can do.
Yeah, nice to have battled closely with a few of the drivers on track, get to know how they drive a bit better. But this was one of my better tracks, so hopefully I can keep up the pace in the upcoming races, but we will have to see how it goes. Just, yeah, practice a bit more, I guess.
Going to be a good one to see. Before we let you go, anything you would like to say to our sponsor, EG Evolve Simulator Rigs, to all our partners here at RaceFace.Pro, to everyone behind the scenes, the drivers, the teams, and most importantly, everyone in the grandstands that was supporting like no tomorrow to see you charge your way to the front end of the field?
Well, thanks to everybody, all the supporters and the staff for setting it all up for us. It's been a real good fun the last few seasons that I've participated in the RaceFace ACC League. Hopefully we can transition it into AC Evo soon enough and continue on. That'll be great.
Absolutely. Well done. And well done once again on a stellar run. Kieran Harris going and managing to charge his way to the top and fight for one of the top 10 runners, but also had to work like no tomorrow. Wonderful to have a chat to him. Next up is our final interview of the night. A driver that also had to think outside the box. And let's bring in Herman Whitner to come and have a chat to us. Herman, welcome to the commentary box. What a race out there. A lot of having to fight it out on circuit and also fight it out against your own team. Not an easy time out there, but still managing to charge your way to the sharp end of the field.
Oh, Stephen, I was backwards more than front facing on the track. I got taken out lap 1, taken out middle of the race, so I don't know how I ended up in third, so I'm just stoked.
With that being said, the drivers putting in a huge amount of effort out there, you having to charge your way up through the order. Pit stop strategy is becoming key. We saw you running a little bit later in your pit stop strategy. Take us through the idea on that one.
Like always, 50-50 split is what works for me. Try and get to halfway, see what the tires does. And depending on what position and where I'm going to get out of the second pit stop is where I normally judge where I need to go and pit. If I'm going to get out in traffic, I'll rather stick it out a little bit longer because I've got the telemetry showing me on the map what it's looking like. So yeah, this time I don't know how I ended up in front of Bouwmeester and Heineke after I was behind 2.5 seconds. So I assumed they had to battle quite a lot to make me gain that time. So yeah, ended up just in front in third place by hook or by crook.
Well, with that being said, looking into round 3, the championship, very tight towards the sharp end of the field. How are you feeling heading with this season? How are you feeling a bit more positive that, hey, you're in for the top 3 here, that you can actually take the fight to the top? Or is it more on the lines of taking race by race?
I think my car number is 3, and the reason for that is I want to be in the top 3 at the end of the season, so hopefully I can achieve that.
Well, fingers crossed, to look forward to seeing it going. Before we let you go to celebrate, to have a chat with the team, to be a part of the celebrations out there, anything you would like to say to EG Evolve Simulator Rigs, who is our partner here at RaceFace.Pro, to all the drivers, to all the teams out on the circuit, arriving, putting in the effort, getting out there on track and really fighting through to the end, to everyone joining us in the virtual grandstand, cheering on from the sidelines, tuning in to the social medias, tuning in to the broadcast and being part of the show.
Yeah, like well done, Bago, for winning. The supporters, it's nice to read the chats afterwards, yourself commentating, like always, the sponsors, thank you for the organizers, and my teammates as well. We practice a lot, we do close following, and we do spend a lot of time with setups and testing on the track. So yeah, thank you to everyone.
Absolutely wonderful stuff. Herman Ripner managing to grab himself up the order and doing a stellar job. Absolutely wonderful racing. A bit of drama and commotion at the start and action all the way through. Left everyone on their feet. Now we head over to Hungary, heading into round 3 of the championship on August 13th. And it's something you do not want to miss, because as everything starts to pile in, the drivers start to push harder and everyone looking for the opportunity to really stand on the top. It's all about who can go that little bit further. Folks, it's been absolutely wonderful being on air with you guys. It's been absolutely incredible to have a chat to our drivers and get to be on air with all the racing. If you want to keep up to date with all that's happening here at RaceFace.Pro, you can make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification icon, leave a like, letting us know what your thoughts on the incredible race it is. A big shout out to our title sponsor, EG Evolve Simulator Rigs. If you're looking for some of the best rigs in the business, if you're looking for flight, racing, road driving, they've got you covered in all aspects. If you are looking for a budget or a high-end, EG Simulators can help you, guide you, and help you on getting your dream rig back to your home. Big thank you to everyone once again on an incredible one, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Same time, same place, right here at RaceFace.Pro. And like always, a huge thank you to you in the virtual grandstand, the petrol heads that keep us going, give the insights, and giving me a little bit of backup as well with the streaming. I appreciate that. Lots of love. And folks, like always, a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.